final speaker is the Regional Economy, Urbanization and Transportation. To share on this topic, we have an architect and planner by background, Sri Dato Sri Architect Esa Mohamed, who is the founder and executive chairman of Akitek Jururancang Sdn Bhd. We would also like to take a moment to wish Sri Esa a happy birthday from all of us at Veritas. Thank you very much for taking the time today to speak with us, especially on your birthday. Sri Esa's experience in the areas of planning and implementation of mega projects, including the Tun Razak Exchange master plan, the Kuala Lumpur International Airport buildings, architectural and master plan for the federal administrative capital city of Putrajaya, the Sungai Buloh Hospital, the Pagoh Education Hub, and the KL Convention Center. Sri Esa was also the elected president of the International Union of Architects for the 2014 to 2017 term, becoming the first Malaysian to hold the position. Congratulations. He was a member of the Board of Architects Malaysia and was the president of PAM from 1993 to 1995. Sri Dato Sri Esa, the screen is now yours.
Thank you, Bianca, for your introduction. Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon, all of the speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, David, Lillian, and the team at Veritas Design for inviting me to speak at this virtual platform today. While I'm the chairman of my HSR, which is my other job, national service, I am actually the executive chairman of Akitek Jururancang Malaysia and the AGM Planning Urban Design Group, my full-time post. I'm not going to talk specifically about the KL-Singapore high-speed rail, which was actually agreement lapsed, the bilateral agreement lapsed this year. And you might have seen a lot of comments in the media, and my comments were also already in the media. We are now studying the feasibility of the project from Kuala Lumpur to Iskandar Putri in Johor, and perhaps looking at the northern line from KL to Bangkok, which are encouraging. You know, going back to history, the Pan-Asian Railway is the Kunming-Singapore Railway, which was mooted, I think, by the British and French colonialists, according to Wikipedia, to have a railway link connecting southwest China, Indochina, and Malaya then. The idea was there for some time, but has not materialized because of a lot of conflicts internationally during the 20th century. But in October 2006, 18 Asian and Eurasian countries signed the Trans-Asian Railway Network Agreement that would provide a railway link from Singapore to Istanbul. And when I was in Medina, I saw the railway station that used to connect Saudi Arabia all the way to Europe to Istanbul, but it was demolished during the war and it became isolated. So there is a lesson. So if you look at the agreement that was signed, they signed a Trans-Asian Railway Network Agreement, and the eastern routes would connect Vietnam and Cambodia, while the western route will connect through Yangon and Mandalay in Myanmar to Kunming. Connecting cities is a very catalytic ingredient for advancing economic development. As you can see, transportation network is about connectivity and integration of humanity for mutual benefits in all aspects of life. If you can recall, Sijori, which is a growth triangle that was announced in 20th December 1989 by the Singapore Deputy Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong then. Sijori, which stands for Singapore, Johor, Riau, was supposed to be a symbiotic arrangement for mutual economic benefits. Later, they expanded to be the Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore Growth Triangle, SGT, with a Memorandum of Understanding signed on the 17th of December 1994 that would strengthen the trilateral political relations among the three nations. Singapore was credited with capital, advanced labor, technology, infrastructure, financial and trade system, while Johor has the semi-skilled labor force, technology, natural resources, and land. Similarly, Indonesia, with Riau, they had, abundance of low-skilled labor, natural resources, and also land. Singapore's investment in Batam and Bintan has turned these islands into economic, industrial, and tourism investment destinations. When I was doing the master plan study for Johor Bahru in 1978, I proposed 3 linkages, physical linkages to Singapore, namely the Western Link at Tuas, the current causeway, which was to be demolished to allow a bridge that will allow maritime movement and water through the straits, and the Eastern Link at Pasir Gudang to Pulau Ubin and then to Singapore. There were a lot of engagements impacting the geopolitical relations. However, the Western Link, now the second link, was agreed by the two countries in March 1994, and it was opened in January 1998. The replacement of the causeway, unfortunately, was not agreed by Singapore. And Tun Mahathir, our then Prime Minister, went to the extent of proposing a crooked bridge to achieve the maritime objective of Malaysia, while we demolish our half, and Singapore will retain the causeway which sits on the seabed as it is. At the same time, the western port of Tanjung Pelepas, which was promoted by us then, it was constructed and it was opened in March 2000, and it also posed additional threat to the port of Singapore. These links would have strengthened our economic and cultural and commercial relations with Singapore, which is the second largest export destination or country for Malaysia after China. I think our export to Singapore something like 30 billion US dollars or something, compared to China is 33. And we have about 350,000 Malaysians, who cross over daily to work and also go to school. During the pandemic, some of them got stuck in Singapore and couldn't come back. But the geopolitical economy of the region has now changed, with China being the second biggest economy in the world. China's aggressive moves on the Belt and Road Initiative presents challenging opportunities for the countries in the region to reconfigure their urban agglomeration to benefit from the expanding market. This is what the Chinese call the Silk Road Economic Belt, the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road, and the Indo-China Peninsula Rail Network. The Belt and Road Initiative established 7 economic corridors that would connect Asia, Russia, Europe, and the Middle East. The high-speed rail lines that have been planned and parts are under construction, as I said, by Thailand from the border of Malaysia to China as part of the Kunming-Singapore high-speed rail, or rather the Pan-Asian Railway. This morning we heard the East Coast Rail Link to connect the northern state of Kota Baru through Kuantan in the east to Port Klang in the west. Malaysia high-speed rail, initially was from KL to Singapore, which is now, as I said, lapsed. And we are studying the possibility of doing it on our own to connect from KL to Singapore, to Johor. So it is logical that the Pan-Asian Railway to be implemented and to complete the connection for this, integration of the whole Asian continent. Post-COVID situation, the governments globally increased spending in infrastructure as it has higher multiplier effect compared to normal public spending, like services or schools, what have you. The US, the United States, under the US infrastructure plan or the bill, they allocated US dollars 1.2 trillion for infrastructure. The UK National Infrastructure Strategy, right, 600 billion pounds. China, 1.5 trillion. India is going to do the same and spending the same amount. Thailand is already committed $32 billion between 2022 to 2027. Philippines, 160 billion. Indonesia, 430 billion on infrastructure. Transport infrastructure investment creates jobs for short term and enhances economic competitiveness in the long term. So this is the current situation for Kunming and Singapore link. Thailand has undertaken a comprehensive review for the railway network system, including the high-speed rail in southern Thailand that will end in Padang Besar at the Malaysia-Thai border, which is scheduled to complete in 2037. The Bangkok-Vientiane high-speed rail line is under construction, while the Kunming-Vientiane line is already almost completed and financed by the Chinese. Thailand is also contemplating, and this morning it was mentioned by Esa Mohamed, the land bridge that will connect Ranong and on the, if you look at the map here on that point number 4, on the Andaman Sea to Chumpon on the Gulf of Thailand, and boosting the Eastern Economic Corridor of Thailand, which is number 2 there, bordering Cambodia. The high-speed rail line is afoot that will connect Dong Wang, Suvarnabhumi, Pattaya, and Rayong on the Gulf. So even Vietnam is also planning the Ho Chi Minh Hanoi high-speed rail. This will enhance the economic development of Vietnam, which has become the favorite destination for FDIs besides Thailand and Indonesia. Yangon-Bangkok line is under feasibility study, and as you can see, we are hemmed in. We are sandwiched by fast-growing economies in the region, and I think this is a wake-up call for Malaysia. We did a study in 2016 on the economic potential of the high-speed rail. The entry point projects 3 was part of our economic transformation program then, with a view that the high-speed rail would give significant benefits to the greater KL Klang Valley. It would transform the way we travel, uplifting the property market. When we talk about TOD or TAD, this is very important, and driving the workers' productivity. We identified several nodes. In this case, there were 4 nodes that we identified for the high-speed rail. That would be the economic development clusters. This was the natural agglomeration of the various urban centers As you can see here, we have the Greater Kuala Lumpur Klang Valley, and of course Negeri Sembilan and Melaka. In Johor, you have Muar, Pagoh, Batu Pahat, including Kluang and Yongpeng, and then you've got the Iskandar Economic Corridor in Johor. So there we are. Investment in high-speed rail will create strong economic opportunities through the corridor. As you can see, I have already done some sketches here, right, to show you where the possible economic development zones could be enhanced because of the high-speed rail line. It would also accelerate the planned developments and also creating jobs as part of Malaysia's post-COVID recovery and reforms. It is not just a transportation system to move people and goods. It is a catalyst to promote economic development. Here in the Southern Transport Corridor, there are already existing clusters, as you can see here on the map. We have, for example, we have economic zones such as Iskandar, I mentioned to you earlier, which they are focusing on electrical and electronic, petroleum, oleochemical, food, agro-processing, logistics, creative technology, healthcare, what have you. We have also the Aitam, which is part of the Batu Pahat and Kluang region, specializing in food technology. Pagoh has just been turned into a special economic zone with more, furniture manufacturing hub. Melaka, the waterfront economic zone, and KLIA, of course, KLIA Aeropolis with logistics, aerospace, convention, and leisure, and Putrajaya, Cyberjaya with services and IT, digital technologies. You see, we have all these already made clusters, and I believe that having a high-speed rail will further enhance their acceleration in development. The ECRL, as mentioned earlier, will also open up and enhance the connectivity between the regions and town with safe and efficient service while stimulating the local economic growth. And in all these cases, transit-oriented development and transit-adjacent development will be prominent, and it will stimulate and enhance the value of economic development. Just like to show you the slides, I would like to reiterate, Southeast Asian countries are investing heavily in public infrastructure projects, including high-speed rail, to attract and position themselves as key global investment destinations. Indonesia, the Jakarta-Bandung high-speed rail is under construction and targeted to complete by end of next year. The high-speed rail was built to support investment aspiration and to boost economic growth, as outlined in their master plan for acceleration and expansion of nation economic development, 2011-2025. The Java Economic Corridor will attract 370 billion ringgit of investment. As of now, Tesla, Google, and Amazon have shown interest in investing in Indonesia. Thailand, the two high-speed rail lines under construction, targeted to be completed. The Northern Corridor 2024, Eastern Corridor, which would actually complete in 2025. The Eastern Corridor is a key infra investment outlined the Eastern Economic Corridor development and aiming to restructure and revitalize the Eastern Seaboard, actually fronting the Gulf of Thailand. Chinese automakers, Great Wall Motors, and Taiwan's tech giant Foxconn have chosen Thailand as its base for electric vehicle manufacturing in Southeast Asia. So if you look at Vietnam, we have 1,570 kilometers high-speed rail network connecting Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh in their transport master plan. And they're putting something like $65 billion to handle increase in trade volumes, highways, what have you. South Korea LG Display have invested US $3 billion in manufacturing facilities in Haiphong, creating 20,000 jobs. Singapore, of course, keep going. Raise the what they call the investment in infrastructure to $90 billion Singapore dollars. So here we are. We have to do something about our own transportation network. And I think it is very important for us to actually look as to how we could promote the mobility and high-speed mobility of people. This diagram here shows, whenever rail is competitive on journey time, it achieves the market share. So anything below 3 hours, high-speed rail or rail travel is the favorite compared to air travel. We are confident that the ridership projection will favor the high-speed rail, making it a viable investment for the country. During the construction phase itself, I think about close to 40,000 jobs will be created annually, not counting the post-construction and operations, and the amount of economic impact and output is in the trillions over the next 50 years. I think government has really to look at it seriously, and we have to resuscitate the idea of connectivity between the peninsula and the rest of Asia, because there will be an increased demand of highly skilled labor force to man the operations and maintenance of the high-speed rail with the deployment of high technology in the systems and control, and also the opportunity for us to develop our local human capital. So this is something for us to ponder and think about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tan Sri Dato Sri Esa, for sharing with us such an insightful presentation and discussing the several connectivities throughout Malaysia and our surrounding neighbors. So we are going to move on to our Q&A session, the panel Q&A with the other speakers that we have had today. Tan Sri Esa, please stay on for us with that. We'll be back in about 5 minutes.